South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. There is a new public health advisory about the leading cause of death among America's children and teens, and it's not medical, it is man-made. We're talking about gun violence. CBS News Miami's Anna McAllister shares one mother's story of seeking justice.
For Brittany Buckner, not a day goes by where she doesn't think about her 19-year-old daughter, Destiny Buckner.
I'm in more so disbelief that it actually happened, you know, to my only girl, my firstborn.
Brittany says Destiny was a quiet but sweet girl who could always make you laugh. But this year, there's been more tears than laughter.
This one here is a nightmare from hell, to be honest with you.
On July 4th, 2023, Destiny was shot and killed in unincorporated Broward County. Her murder is still unsolved.
The hardest part about this is that nobody will speak up.
As gun violence continues to plague the country, a chilling advisory was made from Washington, D.C. on Tuesday.
Gun violence is a public health crisis in our country that requires a public health solution.
According to U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy, guns are the leading cause of death for children and teens, and more than half of adults say they or a family member have experienced a gun-related incident. Dr. Murthy is pushing for more research, stronger gun laws, and better resources to curb gun violence. And right here in South Florida, the city of Lauderhill is already taking steps to prevent deadly shootings.
Anger is a secondary emotion. You feel something before anger comes up. And so we are trying to get people to take some workshops to understand what they feel so that they can maybe choose healthier ways to express their anger.
Lauderhill Peace 365 is an initiative from the city of Lauderhill to promote kindness and peace while offering resources to the community. While local and national officials work to solve the growing issue of gun violence, family members of victims like Brittany mourn their loved ones every day.
You made me into the woman who I am today, and I love you.
Anna McAllister, CBS News, Miami.
It's been 3 years since the collapse of the Champlain Towers South building in Surfside. Buildings all across South Florida are being renovated in the name of safety. The Florida legislature passed new safety requirements in the wake of the collapse. And now CBS News Miami's Joe Gorcho is giving us a clearer picture of the reason why.
3 years later, a fence blocks the place where Champlain Towers South used to be before it collapsed. An investigator pointed out some big problems with its original design and the pool deck earlier in the show. Now we'll show you how the tragedy is pushing some condo owners to invest in building maintenance. Work is underway at the Sea Ranch Club A in Lauderdale by the sea.
My balcony up there is one where it's completely off.
Linda Thompson-Gonzalez, a resident, points to the concrete restoration project just a few feet from her condo's backyard, which offers a breathtaking view of the beach and ocean.
This is the view. This is what makes it all worthwhile.
A view she considers worth a hefty special assessment price tag of $44,000 to improve building safety.
Like everybody, we got to invest in our homes. It's just, hard. A lot of people on fixed incomes.
This 16-story high-rise was built in the early 1980s, around the same time as Champlain Towers South in Surfside. In June 2021, Champlain Towers South collapsed, killing 98 people. Gonzalez believes it inspired her condo community to be more proactive with building maintenance.
Be kidding ourselves to say that it didn't. It certainly did. I mean, unfortunately, our building was always pretty well maintained. I think it was a real wake-up call for everybody.
Matthew Fadden works for the engineering firm hired by the court-appointed receiver for the Champlain Towers South Condo Association. His job is to investigate the collapse. Fadden recently released evidence pointing to potential primary causes.
It really is an atypical kind of thing.
Fadden's findings start with the original design,
especially in that pool deck area. And so that was a massive problem, trumping any other issue.
He highlights work done in 1996 on the pool deck as another tipping point.
A structure that was already under design, and then we're overloading it, and actually quite near its collapse load for many, many years.
It's a chicken or an egg, really, but it's the column and the slab were both undersized. And specifically, the slab was extremely undersized.
His team focused on the pool deck as a potential first failure. Fadden's findings align with preliminary reports from federal investigators with the National Institute of Standards and Technology. NIST has yet to determine the precise spot of the initial failure.
But the big thing that stood out to us as structural engineers was the punching shear failures that you could see all around, and which I have circled there.
Fadden demonstrated how punching shear works using a pen and paper. The paper acts like the concrete slab, exerting force downward, while the pen acts like the column, punching through. Fadden tells us that is extremely rare.
How does one know if they're in a building that potentially has a fatal flaw?
The first thing, right? Most buildings are perfectly safe, right? We do not hear about this happening often. Do most buildings have this issue? No.
Batista says ignoring minor repairs early could cost condo owners millions in future fixes. Also, we did reach out to the law firm that represented the Champlain Tower South residents in its settlement for this story, but they have yet to respond. Reporting in Surfside, Joe Gorcho, CBS News Miami.
To rent or not to rent? That's the question on the mind of many. See what you need to know if you're in the market for a home. Next.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back to our show, and thanks for watching. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. As hurricane season continues to ramp up, neighbors in North Miami are speaking out, saying a park the city built to divert flooding away from city streets isn't working. It was put to the test this month when the neighborhood was underwater. CBS News Miami's Steve Majiri went looking for answers.
North Miami's Stormwater Park has a retention pond back here that can hold enough water for 20 nearby lots. But neighbors tell me this often gets overwhelmed when there's heavy rain.
Rising rainwater made 144th Street unsafe to drive several weeks ago.
Came all the way right here, all the way up to here to this rock.
Promise Salaint took the video. She lives in this neighborhood and says rain doesn't subside quickly here.
When it rains, it floods instantly.
It's right near Stormwater Park, which was designed to divert some of the flood water away from the street. According to the city's website, it was a vacant lot prone to flooding until it was turned into a community space that doubled as a stormwater reservoir.
When it floods, it's supposed to actually clear the water out, but it doesn't even help.
Sarah McDevitt lives up the street and says that isn't enough. This was what her street looked like when flooding filled up 10th Avenue a few weeks ago. She says the park shouldn't be the only way to contain the flooding.
The park conceptually is good, though I do feel like, yes, it's under-engineered for the amount of water that's in the area.
Louis Presume wants to start a petition to urge the city to do more. We spoke to him when the water essentially trapped him in his house earlier this month.
At the end of the day, I couldn't leave. I couldn't go to work. My wife couldn't go to work. Nobody couldn't go to work.
We reached out to the city about whether they'll make any changes to their flood management. A spokesperson told us the city is upgrading its stormwater master plan, and it's about 90% done. The city is expecting it to be finished by as early as August, but officials could not give specifics.
The Stormwater Park does have a trail for people to walk along, but many neighbors tell me they'd rather see this go and be replaced with more room for floodwater. In North Miami, Steve Majiri, CBS News Miami.
On the housing front, a constitutional amendment on the November ballot could help homeowners save money on their property taxes. The proposed amendment calls for an annual inflation adjustment tied to the amount of money homeowners can deduct from their property tax bill. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor explains how it works and has reaction from those who may benefit from it.
In the ballot, it will be Amendment 5. This deduction, if applied, would be based on the rate of inflation at the moment when homeowners pay their taxes. People in South Florida are already telling me anything extra helps. Nancy Morales paid more than $2,500 in property taxes for her house in 2023. Paying less would be a relief for her family.
Anything that helps us, the middle class here in Miami, we're struggling.
Tallahassee approved House Bill 7019, which will now be known as Amendment 5. Governor Ron DeSantis signed it. State Representative Alina Garcia from South Florida was one of the sponsors. She told me now voters have to approve it.
It's going to be on the ballot. It's Amendment 5.
Voters will decide because it means less money for local governments, more for taxpayers.
Right now, we have a $50,000 tax exemption. But what this would do is it would go according to the inflation.
CBS News Miami asked Miami-Dade property tax Pedro Garcia about Amendment 5.
I believe it's a good amendment.
Using the example of Morales' house valued at $300,000, Garcia says homestead exemption is $50,000.
We have two homestead. We have a $25,000 as part of the school board, and we have an additional $25,000. So let's say the cost of living increase 5%. Will be an increase of 5% on that $25,000. And that will provide the people to pay a little bit less in taxes.
25,000 times 5% equals 1,250. You add that to the 25,000 and it is now 26,250. The new homestead exemption is 51,250.
When would this go into effect?
That will take effect on January 2025.
I welcome $1,000 and any type of exception because it does make a difference.
If Amendment 5 becomes law, the maximum deduction that it will actually represent would be up to $25,000 more. You decide in November. In Southwest Miami-Dade, Ivan Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
And whether you own or rent your home, affordability is likely top of mind. A new report out from Rent Cafe shows that South Florida is the tightest rental market in the entire nation. It says there are 19 tenants at every unit up for rent. The report also shows nearly 74% of renters renewed their leases, another sign of a tight rental market. CBS News Miami's Tanya Fransad takes you along for a look at what's it like to be a renter in South Florida these days.
The experts say your rent should be about a third of your income, but that's not always possible here in South Florida, as we have some of the most expensive rental prices in the nation. And those who are looking for a place to live, they're feeling the pinch.
It could be frustrating, it could be very stressful.
Devon Johnson moved back to South Florida 6 months ago. He's looking for something small to rent.
Well, for an efficiency or for a studio, about $1,200, no, I'm guessing no more than $1,500 will be great.
Monthly rent isn't Devon's issue. He says it's coming up with first, last, and the deposit all at once. We went house hunting across South Florida to see what the market is really like. We start in Lauderhill.
The 1 to 3 bedrooms can range from $2,100 to about $3,000.
We move a few miles south to Pembroke Pines.
It is a 2-story townhome. It has 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. It's approximately 1,170 square feet, and the current rental rate is going for $2,400.
Miami Gardens is the least expensive of all the places we looked at.
A 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo in the city of Miami Gardens. It's about 931 square feet, and the rental cost of this property is $2,000 per month.
Coral Gables is not only one of the pricier areas in South Florida, it's one of the most expensive in the country. That's where we found this rental. It's owned by Linda Lawrence Walden. She lives on the other side of the house. She says within 5 years, she's raised her prices hundreds of dollars.
It was like $1,500 5 years ago, $1,550. Yeah.
And with the market increase, of course.
It's just, yeah, after COVID, it went crazy.
According to Zillow, in the last 5 years, Miami-Dade rental prices have gone up 58%. In Broward, prices have increased 55%. Linda is now asking $2,250 a month for 900 square feet.
Yeah, the house was built in 1930.
The most expensive place we saw is also the smallest at 560 square feet. It's this 1-bedroom in Little Havana for $2,500 a month.
Insurance is going up, and I think renters are paying the price for owners' insurance going up.
Realtor Latara New Eddington Gay specializes in luxury real estate. She says while it's not a renter's market, would-be renters should feel a little hopeful.
Rental prices are decreasing. I don't think we're going to see a significant change. Like, we're not going to see a 20-30%, but maybe you see 16%, maybe you see 10%.
The realtors all say location is everything. Where you live versus where you want to play and how much patience you have with South Florida traffic are all factors in deciding how much you want to pay. In Miami, Tanya Francois, CBS News, Miami.
South Florida's buzzing with Stanley Cup hype following the Florida Panthers' historic win. When we come back, we have some fun facts for you on the coveted trophy. Don't go away.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back to our show. I'm Elliot Rodriguez, and thanks for joining us. As we close out Pride Month, celebrating the LGBTQ plus community, some people may not be familiar with how Pride began. Well, it started after police raided a New York City gay bar back in 1969. That led to an uprising that lasted 5 days, creating a movement that's still going strong today. CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten is speaking to someone who was there.
It was the early morning hours of June 28, 1969, when New York City police raided the Stonewall Inn, a popular gay bar in Greenwich Village.
We danced like line dances, the Lindy, cha-cha. Slow dance was called the grind.
Tree Sequoia, as he's known, was a bartender there. He was off that night, but was there hanging out on the dance floor when he heard a commotion in another room.
And we knew it was another raid, but we did not know that was going to be the raid of all raids.
Police were raiding the bar, looking into illegal liquor sales. At the time, homosexuality was a criminal offense.
When the cops came in, they threw drugs on the floor. They said, step on that, that's yours, step on that. And people said no. Next thing you know, we saw a bottle go flying this way, and everything started going crazy.
Unlike other raids, this time people fought back. This was the beginning of a 5-day uprising that would forever change the LGBTQ plus community.
We had the cops locked in there with a few customers that they were arresting. We were attacking it. We were throwing bottles at the window, trying to set the bar on fire with the police in it.
We are in the Stonewall bar as it would have looked on June 28th.
Robert Keston is the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum, Archive, and Library. During Pride Month, they set up a replica of the Stonewall Inn to immerse people in history.
From a riot became a multi-day uprising that led to the beginning of the gay liberation movement as we know it today.
It led to visibility.
Our entire world started to change. More people came out. More people ran for office. More people left their jobs to get jobs in the LGBTQ world.
Tree said it changed history.
I want the world to know that we fought for what we want, and we don't want anybody taking it away.
History will come alive on Saturday. That's when they're going to have a reenactment of the uprising at the Stonewall Inn. The idea is to help people understand the significance of what happened and learn more about the movement that followed. We have more information for you on our website, cbsmiami.com. In Fort Lauderdale, Ted Scouten, CBS News Miami.
And now for some hockey history. Each newly crowned Stanley Cup champion gets the opportunity to spend 24 hours with the coveted trophy. We've been following Lord Stanley on its wild tour across South Florida, and what a journey it's been, right? CBS News Miami's Trish Christakis takes a look at its first few hours as a Florida resident.
When it comes to Lord Stanley, it's seen it all. Babies in the cup, drinking from the cup, the list goes on. But seeing the Stanley Cup and Matthew Tkachuk's arms strolling out of the elbow room and then in a private escort via golf cart is about as Florida as it gets.
Literally incredible. I mean, at the elbow room, like, can't get more iconic than that.
Day one in the Panthers' possession, and it's been through a fun ride already. A dip in the Atlantic Ocean, a pool party in Fort Lauderdale, and of course, beer pours for their faithful fans. The Cup, though, itself has more history on it than the amount of parties it's attended. A beautiful trophy, but imperfect. From players' names to teams' names, there's misspellings and only a few corrections that started in 1996 when they fixed the spelling of a player's name. But what about when it runs out of space?
So right here, and they would be on the cup for 60 years. And when the bottom fills up, we take this ring off, put it in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, and then put a new ring on the bottom. So longest you can be on the cup is 65 years, shortest is 52.
So all the Florida Panthers will be engraved for the first time in history very soon. In Fort Lauderdale, Trish Christakis, CBS News, Miami.
So much fun. All right, thank you so much for joining us this half hour in Headliners. And as always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. And finally, make it a great day.